Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this Friday evening. The Sensex and the Nifty hit a record high once again. The Sensex now within touching distance of 68,000. The Nifty gains nearly 100 points. Both indices up 2% this week. The UK government agrees to invest £500 million to decarbonise Tata Steel's Port Talbot plant, the nation's largest single carbon emitter. Tata Steel to invest £750 million. Employees' union warns of job losses, calls the agreement a disgrace. SEBI's deadline seeking public comments on regulating financial influencers ends today. Registered advisors seek a level playing field, influencers seek flexibility, and consumers want transparency. A CNBC-TV18 analysis shows the appointment of a new CEO can serve as a substantial catalyst for a stock revaluation. 73 listed companies in the BSE 500 that had a change of guard since 2022 have given returns of at least 50%.
Our exposure in China, SoftBank as a group, has reduced significantly.
SoftBank's Masayoshi says the exposure to China has been reduced significantly after a large stake sale in Alibaba. Also adds he hopes for an improvement in the relationship between US and China.
We have had certain issues which are of serious concern. They have been highlighted in the bilateral meeting that the Honourable Prime Minister had with the Prime Minister of Canada.
Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal says trade negotiations with Canada are on pause and India has issues of serious concern with Canada. This comes after Prime Minister Modi red-flagged the issue of Sikh separatists with Prime Minister Trudeau during his visit for the G20 meeting. Auto workers in Detroit go on mass strike. Around 13,000 workers at General Motors, Ford and Stellantis walk out of their factories after failing to reach a deal on better wages and job security. China's defense minister, who's been missing from public view for 2 weeks, is being removed from his post, say US officials. He becomes the latest to disappear without explanation. China's foreign minister was abruptly removed in July. Death toll from the floods in Libya crosses 11,000 even as rescue workers search for over 10,000 missing people. Authorities in Derna start to bury the dead in mass graves outside the city. The International Red Cross Committee distributes body bags for a dignified treatment to the dead. It's raining IPOs on the Dalal Street. Shares in 4 companies are on the block. RR Kabil subscribed 19 times on the final day. Zaggle Prepaid sees decent appetite, but Yatra and Sami Hotels see tepid response so far. Festive cheer for e-commerce retailers. Red Sea expects sales to touch 90,000 crore rupees and clock a 20% growth rate. Actor Deepika Padukone picks up an undisclosed stake in specialty coffee chain Blue Tokai through her investment entity. The investment is part of Blue Tokai's Series B round of funding, during which it raised $30 million. As always, let's start with the market action. Another day, another record, and bulls have entered deep into uncharted waters. The Sensex gaining over 300 points today, and it's now within touching distance of 68,000. The Nifty also closing above 20,000, gaining nearly 90 points, ending the day above that level. But for the week, both major indices have gained 2% each. That's been the story, not just for today, but for this past week. Mid-caps have seen a roller coaster ride. The index ended the day with gains, but for the week, it ended with marginal losses. Now, India's trade deficit has widened to a 10-month high of a little over $24 billion in August, down 2.8% compared to last year. Government data shows that imports and exports continue to decline on an annual basis, however, was higher than a month ago. The merchandise trade deficit for the month stood at $24.2 billion. The big story this evening, the British government will be giving a subsidy of £500 million to Tata Steel to help the steel giant switch to a green transition at its Port Talbot plant. Tata Steel will pump in £750 million as part of this agreement. The workers' union at the Wales-based plant has said that the move will lead to job losses. London Bureau Chief Sanjay Suri joins us now with more details. Sanjay, many thanks for joining us. Long pending, much awaited, finally, the agreement going through.
Well, a lot of factors have been loaded against this production of steel in Britain, and not just the Tata plant at Port Talbot. We have a very high number of employees at this plant with very high wages for them. We've had cheaper produce from China into the market for some time now. We've had rising energy costs, rising taxes on emissions because the technology at the Port Talbot plant is outdated, to say the least. Tata says it's at the end of its life now, and these have been old-fashioned blast furnaces. Tata needs electric furnaces, and that inevitably is going to have to mean job losses. Clearly, the unions are not happy. They never would be, understandably. But if it is not cutting in jobs, it might mean a wholesale loss of jobs arising from possible closure. So it is a part loss compared to a total loss for the workers, and they will have to take a tough call, as will Tata.
Absolutely, and the workers have already called this agreement, and I quote, a disgrace. Sanjay Suri, many thanks for joining us here on India Business Hour. Since the start of 2022, a total of 73 companies in India have seen a change of guard. Nearly 25% of listed companies have reported returns of 50% or more since getting a new top executive. So, it seems like a new CEO taking over is a trigger for stock performance. Nimesh joins us now with the numbers. Nimesh, what is the data telling us?
Well, indeed, Shireen, a change of guard or a new CEO indeed leads to a lot of re-rating in the stocks, and that's showing up in the data as well. So let me just run through the data. There are two companies, which have seen a return of more than 200% since the new CEO joining since 2022. There are 6 companies where the returns have been more than between 100 to 200%. 10 companies where the return has been more than 50 to 100%, and there are only 12 companies which have given negative returns as well. So there are some companies which have given negative returns. Now, just look at the big winners first. So the big winners in that list includes names like IRFC. Since the new CEO joining in October 2022, that stock has rallied 260%. Adani Power since January 22, that has rallied almost 240%. Suzlon in the last 6 months since the new CEO joining in April 23, that stock has rallied almost 200%. The likes of RBL, that's up almost 160%. Also, the likes of, say, Zensar Technologies and BSE, both have got new CEOs in January 2023 this year, and both the stocks have rallied nearly 150%. And something like Aditya Birla Capital, where there was a new CEO in July 2022, that stock has also rallied more than 100%. But as I said, that's a big trigger for a lot of stocks to outperform. There are some underperformers as well in that list. And the big surprise name is Jubilant Foodworks. That company got a new CEO in September 2022, but still the stock is down 11% since the CEO coming in. Quest Corp, that's been a big underperformer. That stock is down 35% since the new CEO joining in Feb 2022. And something like a Granules, even that stock is down 4%. And even there, the new CEO joined in 2022. So, but now look at the list, and this is an interesting list. These are the names where the CEOs have recently joined in the very recent past. So look at Shoppers Stop. The new CEO came in September 23. That stock is still underperforming or pretty much flat. SBI Cards got a new CEO in August 23. That stock is still down. Hindustan Lever, that's a big name to track. They got a new CEO in June 2023. That stock still is down 5%. Even Y2D, the stock is underperformed. So a new CEO joining is a big trigger for a lot of stocks to outperform. But now the focus will be on the new CEOs who are going to join in. There are some new names as well. For instance, United Breweries, they've got a new CEO. So these are the big triggers to track. And one of the important triggers is a new CEO joining leads to a big re-rating.
All right, Nimesh, many thanks for joining us. Now, the deadline for public comments on SEBI's consultation paper on financial influencers ended today. The market regulator has proposed to restrict the association of unregistered finfluencers with registered entities. So what is the rationale behind SEBI's clampdown? Also, how is the financial influencer community reacting to this? Surabhi joins us now with more. Surabhi, this has been cause for a heated debate online and offline. You've been speaking with all parties involved. Today's the end of the consultation. SEBI, of course, now going to look at what has come in and propose a way forward. What are people saying?
Shireen, hi. Well, yes, I've been tapping into a lot of these, debates that have been ongoing, whether it's online or offline. And we've been speaking to the influencer community ourselves right here at CNBC-TV18. So I'll just quickly present both sides of the argument. What SEBI is saying. Essentially, SEBI was batting in that consultation paper, batting for a complete disassociation, a total disconnect between unregistered finfluencers and regulated entities such as mutual funds or stockbrokers. SEBI made it very clear, no commissions, no referral fee, no exchange of any sort unless a finfluencer registered. Now, this is still a proposal. Why did SEBI say this? SEBI says that influencers manage to gain in several ways. I'll just outline some of them. Referral fee for usage of the product, platform or service, non-cash benefits like allowing the finfluencer free usage of that platform or that product or that service, compensation from several social media activities, and other forms of profit sharing with various platforms. So this was SEBI's argument that we need to break down this business model and not allow this unless these entities choose to register with us. Now, what is the finfluencer side of the argument? The first thing that finfluencers are saying is that don't treat all of us with the same brush. I can tell you this, the community itself is fairly divided. There are voices clamoring to treat the finfluencers who are making educational content or investor awareness content very, very differently from those who are, say, offering trading tips or advice or these master classes on futures and options, etc. So that's the first ask, saying that don't paint everybody with the same brush. The second thing is that registration needs to be made simpler. Finfluencers say that the current guidelines, for instance, the RIA, the Registered Investment Advisor guidelines, are very, very onerous. There are audits required. You need to keep digital trails, if not paper trails. And it's simply not feasible because RIAs themselves have been surrendering a lot of their licenses. So they're saying simpler onboarding and registration. And finally, the one point on which there seems to be some consensus is disclosure. A lot of influencers we've spoken to say that if there is a financial or a commercial relationship between a mutual fund or a stockbroker and a finfluencer, then that needs to be disclosed, and regulation should say that explicitly. Let's see. Of course, we are waiting to hear what SEBI would have to say, the final paper on this matter.
I think a proper distinction needs to be made between what do we mean by enticing people to trade and what do we mean by educating their followers. Is enticing people is a problem. तो ये बीमारी है, इसको ठीक करना चाहिए. तो प्रॉब्लम ये हो रहा है, अभी लोग बोल रहे हैं कि बीमारी है क्या, इंसान को ही खत्म कर दो तो बीमारी ऑटोमेटिकली खत्म हो जाएगी. That should not be the thought process. We should address as to what is the problem and that should be taken care of, is what my thought process is.
Should they be registered? Yes, they should be registered. Now, at this moment, in the discussion paper, there are 2-3 avenues. I always believe that the discussion will continue and things will evolve. Now, registration at the beginning of the discussion was, should it be easy? Try becoming a distributor for selling soaps or anything from a large FMCG company. Is it easy? No, it's not. And we are talking about selling fiduciary responsibilities here. As the money starts growing bigger and bigger, these processes will become tougher as we go.
What SEBI is bringing in is making sure that, as Swaroop said, lot of disclosures, lot of clarity to the users. Right? If you look at the spirit of the law is that we want to protect the value of the consumers, right? Protect the consumers. They should have all the disclosures. They should have all the clarity of what the user is saying, what the influencer is saying.
Well, different viewpoints there on the finfluencer regulation. You can catch the conversation on this raging debate at 9:30 p.m. right here on India Business Hour. In other news, we're tracking this evening, SoftBank-backed ARM climbed 25% on its NASDAQ debut, selling about 95.5 million shares. This is the biggest IPO of the year. The chip design company's market cap stood at 68 billion at closing. This is higher than the value of NVIDIA. SoftBank's Masayoshi Son spoke to CNBC in a rare interview. He was gung-ho about artificial intelligence and its growth. He also spoke about China, saying SoftBank's exposure has been reduced significantly with the stake sale in Alibaba. He's also hoping for an improvement in relationship between the US and China.
Society should regulate to protect humankind. However, it has more merits than the demerits. So I think I'm a believer, I'm optimist that AI is going to solve the issues that mankind couldn't solve in the past, like difficult disease, the natural disasters, the car accidents, all kinds of other issues that humankind had in the past will be helped by the advancement of AI and technology. Our exposure in China, SoftBank as a group, has reduced significantly because Now, most of the shares in Alibaba from SoftBank is already sold. US-China is having a very complicated situation now. China has a significant, impact to the economy of the rest of the world. So I think, I hope the situation gets better, but who knows? I'm one of the citizens who is wondering and concerned about the future of China, US, and the rest of the world.
Well, Masayoshi Son there from the blockbuster global listing to IPO corner back home. Dalal Street flush with IPOs today, with shares of 4 companies up for grabs. RR Kabel subscribed 19 times on the final day, while Zaggle Prepaid saw decent appetite. However, Yatra and Sami Hotels have seen tepid response so far. Yash is standing by now with the details. Yash, many thanks for joining us. Plenty buzzing on IPO Street.
Well, Shireen, it's almost like an IPO jam on Dalal Street. Today, that is September 15th. There's not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 IPOs which remain open for subscription. For 1, it was the final day. For 2, it was day 2. And for 1, it was the maiden day. Let's speak about the IPO for which it was the last day. That is RR Kabel IPO, the final day. The total subscription received was 19 times the company, which was looking to raise about 1964 crore rupees. The demand which was received was for 37,000 crore rupees. The total shares on offer were 1.33 crore shares. The demand which came through was for 25 crore shares. The HNI book was subscribed 13 times, though the response on the retail and the employee side was subdued. Retail subscribed about 2 times, employee subscribed about 3 times. Now let's speak about the 2 IPOs for which it was day 2. Zaggle Prepaid Ocean and Sami Hotels. Speaking about the one which fared better, that was Zaggle Prepaid. The total subscription on day 2 coming in at about 43%, HNI 29%, retail at 2 times, which is a strong response just on the day 2 itself. For Sami Hotels, the total subscription was just about 12%, HNI at 7%, retail subscription at 58%. Now let's speak about the IPO for which it was the maiden day, and this was Yatra Online. The total subscription for the IPO was 11%, HNI at just 3%, and retail at 55%. Yatra Online, the company is looking to raise about 775 crore rupees. The IPO closes on September 20th. Of course, as we see the subscription numbers, strong response, strong support from the market, these companies would only hope to continue to see this response on their listing day as well.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. In other news, in a boost to Make in India, the Defence Acquisition Council has approved 9 acquisition proposals worth 45,000 crore rupees. These include 12 Russian origin fighter jets that will be made by Hindustan Aeronautic. The order also includes the Dhruvastra short-range air-to-surface missile, light armoured multi-purpose vehicles and high-mobility gun-towing vehicles. The DSC will also procure next-generation survey vessels for the Indian Navy. In the aviation space, SpiceJet has completed the payment of $1.5 million to Credit Suisse. In a regulatory filing, the cash-strapped airline has said it executed the transaction on the 14th of September. This comes days after the Supreme Court directed the low-cost carrier to make the payment to Credit Suisse in a matter relating to unpaid dues. The FinTech Association for Consumer Empowerment, or FACE, an industry body for fintechs, has introduced a new code of conduct for digital lenders. New norms include seeking customer information on existing debt obligations and giving clear options to customers to withdraw consent on use of their data. The code is mandatory for all 44 of its lending members. Shares of Burger King franchisee restaurant brand Asia soaring 25% as equity changed hands in a block deal. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 Everstone, the company's promoter, is the likely seller. Everstone owned 40.8% equity in the company as of the end of June. India's trade deal negotiations with Canada are on pause, says Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. Speaking to First Post, Goyal said India has, and I quote, serious concern with Canada. This comes after Prime Minister Modi red-flagged the issue of Sikh separatists with Prime Minister Trudeau during the frosty G20 visit. Take a look.
There are several reasons we need to make sure that geopolitically and economically we are all on the same page. and therefore the pause on the Canada discussions.
Are we not on the same page with Canada?
We are on good page, but we have had certain issues which are of serious concern. They have been highlighted in the bilateral meeting that the Honorable Prime Minister had with the Prime Minister of Canada, and we are hoping for resolution of some of these issues before we take it forward.
Trade talks with Canada on pause, says the Commerce Minister. Up next on India Business Hour, actor Deepika Padukone picks up an undisclosed stake in specialty coffee chain Blue Tokai through her investment entity. That and more when we return. Catch CNBC-TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema, and coming soon on WhatsApp. Nearly 13,000 US auto workers have stopped production and gone on strike. This after negotiations with three big automakers over higher wages broke down. All three factories owned by General Motors, Ford and Stellantis are currently not operating. President Biden held talks with executives and labor union leaders to break the deadlock, but that was not successful. US officials allege that China's defense minister, who has been missing from public view for 2 weeks, has been removed. He becomes the latest to disappear without explanation. China's foreign minister was abruptly removed in the month of July. The death toll from the floods in Libya crosses 11,000, even as rescue workers search for over 10,000 missing people. Authorities in Derna start to bury the dead in mass graves outside the city. The International Red Cross Committee has distributed body bags for a dignified treatment to the dead. US President Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden indicted on federal firearm charges. The latest step puts the case on track towards a possible high-stakes trial. The indictment comes weeks after the collapse of a plea deal that would have averted a criminal trial and distracting headlines for President Joe Biden as the 2024 election looms. Deepika Padukone has added another feather in her investment hat. She's invested in specialty coffee chain Blue Tokai. In a statement, the actor says she's passionate about homegrown brands and values authenticity. Shruti Mishra joins us now to take us through Deepika Padukone's portfolio. What does the Padukone portfolio look like now, Shruti, post this investment?
That's right, Shireen. Actor Deepika Padukone has invested in specialty coffee brand Blue Tokai Coffee Roasters. This undisclosed investment is part of the company's $30 million Series B funding round and adds Deepika Padukone's investment entity, Car Enterprises, to its portfolio alongside A91 Partners, Anicut Capital, 8i Ventures, TSP BlackRock, Negan Capital, Morian Capital and White Whale Ventures. This investment also comes at a time when Blue Tokai completes 10 years of making specialty coffee a craze in India. Deepika is now a veteran startup investor who says she wants to partner with homegrown brands. She has invested in Atomberg Technology, Bellatrix Aerospace, Blue Smart, Front Row, Epigamia and Supertails. Deepika also launched her self-care brand 82 East in 2022. Well, celebs clearly are no longer just brand ambassadors. They now seek a stake in the success of companies. Most investments have been made in the direct-to-consumer sector, with some in edtech, e-commerce, food tech, health and fitness and agri-tech sectors. In fact, just last week, Reliance Retail picked up a majority stake in Alia Bhatt-owned Edamame. Well, as they say, picture abhi baki hai, so keep watching this space for more.
We will be watching this space closely, Shruti. Many thanks for joining us. Now, e-commerce retailers could see sales rise 18 to 20% this festive season. This as per data from consulting firm Redseer. Shilpa joins us now to take us through what the report is forecasting for the festive season. Shilpa.
Well, online shopping worth 90,000 crore rupees is expected this festive season across platforms like Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, Meesho, etc. That's the data coming in from Redseer, and this would be 18 to 20% higher than the 76,000 crore rupees that we saw that was clocked last year in the festive season. And this year, that's expected to kick off towards the end of September once all these platforms start their annual sales. Now, remember, this comes on the back of a slowdown that we have been seeing in consumption. In fact, Redseer says that the sales in the past couple of quarters have been the lowest historically, and it hopes that this year the festive season sales will sort of boost and bring back the growth in GMV, which was just 10% between Jan to July so far. And another interesting piece of information that I want to leave you with is that this year also marks a decade since online festive sales ever started in India back in 2014, and since then annual GMV has actually grown 20x from 27,000 crore rupees in the whole year in 2014 to this year about 5.25 lakh crore rupees what GMV expected through 2023. So that's a long way for online shopping, boosted by festive season this year. Back to you.
So festive cheer expected. Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. And that's it on this edition of India Business Hour this Friday evening. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18 News continues. From all of us here, have a great weekend. See you Monday.